لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. اللهم اجعلنا منهم سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما وعملا تقبل برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. اللهم فقهنا في الدين وعلمنا التأويل. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض ولا يؤوده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. قل أعوذ برب الفلق من شر ما خلق من شر غاسق إذا وقب من شر النفاثات في العقد من شر حاسد إذا حسد. قل أعوذ برب الناس ملك الناس إله الناس من شر الوسواس الخناس الذي يوسوس في صدور الناس من الجنة والناس. اللهم أنت ربي لا إله إلا أنت خلقتني وأنا عبدك وأنا على عهدك ووعدك ما استطعت. أعوذ بك من شر ما صنعت أبوء لك بنعمتك علي وأبوء بذنبي فاغفر لي فإنه لا يغفر الذنوب إلا أنت. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من الهم والحزن والعجز والكسل والجبن والبخل وضلع الدين وغلبة الرجال. اللهم اكفنا بحلالك عن حرامك واغننا بفضلك عمن سواك. اللهم إنا نسألك العافية في الدنيا والآخرة. اللهم إنا نسألك العفو والعافية في ديننا ودنيانا وأهلنا وأموالنا. اللهم استر عوراتنا وآمن روعاتنا. اللهم احفظنا من بين أيدينا ومن خلفنا وعن إيماننا وعن شمالنا ومن فوقنا ونعوذ بعظمتك أن نغتال من تحتنا. أصبحنا وأصبح الملك لله والحمد لله لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له له الملك وله الحمد وهو على كل شيء قدير. ربنا نسألك خير ما في هذا اليوم ونعوذ بك من شر ما في هذا اليوم وشر ما بعده. ربنا نعوذ بك من الكسل وسوء الكبر. ربنا نعوذ بك من عذاب في النار وعذاب في القبر. بسم الله لا اله الا هو عليه توكلت وهو رب العرش العظيم. رضيت بالله ربا وبالمحمد محمد النبي. اللهم صل وسلم عليه وعلى اله. بسم الله الذي لا يضر مع اسمه شيء في الارض ولا في السماء وهو السميع العليم. سبحان الله وبحمده لا اله الا الله وحده لا شريك له له الملك وله الحمد وهو على كل شيء قدير. سبحان الله الحمد لله الله أكبر. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. استغفر الله وأتوب إليه. سبحان الله وبحمده عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه رضا بكلماته. سبحان الله وبحمده عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه رضا بكلماته. سبحان الله وبحمده عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه مداد كلماته. You three, y'all let me down. They left me on red. Okay. What are you doing? Speak. I know, but then he just said if nobody's doing it, then I can do it. So yeah, I'm not let down by all of you, everyone else. You want to do anything? Oh. Gotcha. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على نبيه الكريم سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Inshallah, today I'll discuss the
dhikr, حسبي الله لا إله إلا هو عليه توكلت وهو رب العرش العظيم. Allah is sufficient for me. There is no God but Him. I have placed my trust in Him alone, and He is the Lord of the magnificent throne. This this dhikr, the Prophet ﷺ is explained beautifully in the hadith uh, of Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, where he's sitting behind the Prophet ﷺ on a riding animal. But before we get there, the word tawakkul, a lot of times is translated as like protector or guardian and stuff. Um, Ibn Ibn Jarir al-Tabari rahimahullah translates it as هو المسند إليه القيام بأمره من أسند إليه القيام بأمره. He's the one who is entrusted with the affair of someone else, basically. So in the hadith of Ibn Abbas radiallahu anh, he says, كنت خلف رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يوما فقال يا غلام إني أعلمك كلمات احفظ الله يحفظك احفظ الله تجده تجاهك وإذا سألت فاسأل الله وإذا استعنت فاستعن بالله واعلم أن الأمة لو اجتمعت على أن ينفعوك بشيء لم ينفعوك إلا بشيء قد كتبها الله لك وإن اجتمعوا على أن يضروك بشيء لم يضروك إلا بشيء قد كتبه الله عليك رفعت الأقلام وجفت الصحف. وفي رواية احفظ الله تجده أمامك تعرف إلى الله في الرخاء يعرفك في الشدة واعلم أن ما أخطأك لم يكن ليصيبك وما أصابك لم يكن ليخطئك واعلم أن النصر مع الصبر وأن الفرج مع الكرب وأن مع العسر يسرا. So this hadith is very beautiful, and I feel it explains this dhikr right here, pretty much every aspect. Ibn Abbas radiallahu anh says, I was sitting behind the Prophet ﷺ one day on a riding animal, and he said to me, "Oh young man, oh young boy, allow me to teach you, or allow me to give you some advice. احفظ الله يحفظك. Protect Allah, protect your relationship with Allah, and in return, Allah will be a source of protecting you. احفظ الله تجده تجاهك. If you protect your relationship with Allah, you're going to find Allah all around you." So just this first part right here, subhanAllah, pretty much explains Hasbi Allah la ilaha illahu, that Allah is sufficient for us, but in order for us to be able to understand that Allah is sufficient for us, we have to know that it takes effort, and in order for that to happen, we have to make sure we are preserving our relationship with Allah in the best manner. And just to corroborate with that, the hadith al-Qudsi from Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, from the Prophet ﷺ, from Allah Azza wa Jal, who says, "Man aada li waliyan faqad aadhantuhu bil harb." Whoever has or shows enmity, hatred, and animosity towards a close servant of mine, then I have certainly declared war upon them. And later in the hadith, it says, basically, وما تقرب إلي عبدي بشيء حب إلي مما افترضته عليه وما يزال عبدي يتقرب إلي بالنوافل حتى أحبه. That my servant does not draw closer to me with anything except that which I have already made obligatory upon them, and they continue to draw closer to me with that which I have with that which is voluntary until I love them. فإذا أحببته, when I love them, which is a cause of احفظ الله يحفظك, right? In order to gain that love of Allah, we have to make sure we're preserving our relationship with Allah in the best manner. كنت سمعه الذي يسمع به وبصره الذي يبصر به ويده الذي يبطش بها ورجله التي يمشي بها. If we make sure to preserve our relationship with Allah in the best manner, then Allah will become the sight through which we see, the hearing through which we hear, the hand with which we touch, and the legs with which we walk. And the end of the hadith, وَلَئِنْ سَأَلَنِي لَأُعْطِيَنَّهُ وَلَئِنْ اسْتَعَاذَنِي لَأُعِيذَنَّهُ. And if they ask me, I will certainly give to them. And if they seek protection in me and they seek refuge with me, I will certainly grant them refuge. And that corroborates with the next part of the hadith of Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu. وَإِذَا سَأَلْتَ فَاسْأَلِ اللَّهِ. وَإِذَا اسْتَعَنْتَ فَاسْتَعِنْ بِاللَّهِ. If you are asking from anyone, make sure to ask from Allah. And if you need help from anyone, ask help from Allah. And this is important because we all, at some point in time, we always make sure to go back to Allah. But is Allah the first one we're going back to? Right? Allah should always be the first one we're asking before. Like one example I heard a scholar give was like when you're looking for a job, maybe a lot of times people go see what type of connections they have to get in that position, right? They know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody who works somewhere. And they ask everybody in that process in order to help them get that job. And they're continuously searching and they can't get the job. Then what happens after? Or when it's like on very thin ice or whatever, then at the end is when they come to Allah and say, "Oh Allah, I know I should have come to you earlier, but now I'm here. Ya Allah, please help me," right? But making sure Allah is the first one that we go to and ask help from. وَإِذَا اسْتَعَنْتَ فَاسْتَعِنْ بِاللَّهِ. And the first one we seek help from. And if we do so, then we will become beloved to Allah. If we protect our relationship with Allah and make sure He's the first one we go and ask help from, then we will become the sight. He will be the source of our sight and hearing and such. And He will give us as whenever we ask. And if we ask Him for protection and help and refuge, He will give it to us. واعلم أن الأمة لو اجتمعت على أن ينفعوك بشيء لم ينفعوك إلا بشيء قد كتبه الله لك. This is explaining عليه توكلت, that our trust is always in Allah. The first part also explained it because it's telling us that our complete trust and reliance should be upon Allah alone, right? Which is why we preserve our relationship with Him, which is why we go and ask Him first. But then the Prophet ﷺ is reminding us that nothing will afflict you in terms of positive, like in terms of harm or anything good, except through the decree of Allah, right? So relying upon Allah alone and making sure we continue to preserve our relationship with Him, this will lead us to understanding that nothing happens to us except through His decree, right? At the end of the day, the decree of Allah is still like above all, right? So nothing happens except that Allah knows and has decreed it already. وإن اجتمعوا على أن يضروك بشيء لم يضروك إلا بشيء قد كتبه الله عليك رفعت الأقلام وجفت الصحف. That Allah, nothing will harm us except that Allah has already decreed it, because the pens have been raised and the ink has been dried. Thus, عليه توكلت, I completely put my complete trust and reliance upon Him alone. And the other narrations from other than Tirmidhi mention just a little bit of an extra aspect. احفظ الله تجده أمامك تعرف إلى الله في الرخاء يعرفك في الشدة. We have to understand that asking Allah, yes, preserve our relationship with Allah, ask Allah first. But on top of that, if we only ask Allah and make sure we're praying and everything during times of difficulty, then we shouldn't be as, yes, Allah will still answer us because Allah is Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim Al-Ghafur, right? So Allah is the most merciful, the most kind. So He will still answer us. But like if we put this in like a human context, if we haven't spoken to somebody in, I don't know, months or years, and suddenly you call them and ask them for help, generally assuming people are going to be like, why are you asking me now, right? It's been so long, you haven't spoken to me in so long, right? So putting your reliance and trust in somebody who you haven't been in close contact with and in a good relationship with for a long time is difficult for us and on that person's part, right? So the Prophet is reminding us, تعرف إلى الله في الرخاء. Remember and recognize Allah in times of ease, يعرفك في الشدة, so that He recognizes you and knows you in times of hardship, right? If you remember Allah in times of ease, then in times of hardship, Allah says, this servant of mine has been asking me through all and has been thanking me for all these blessings, and now he's in a time of hardship. Let me help him, right? Let me do whatever I can. obviously Allah can do all. واعلم أن ما أخطأك لم يكن ليصيبك وما أصابك لم يكن ليخطئك. And anything that misses you was never decreed to afflict you, and anything that afflict you would never have missed you, right? This is making sure we have complete tawakkul in Allah. Allah, we rely upon Him, and we understand that whatever happens, no matter what it is through His decree at the end of the day, and we should be pleased with it. واعلم أن النصر مع الصبر وأن الفرج مع الكرب وأن مع العسر يسرا. That victory only comes with patience and perseverance. So making sure we preserve our relationship with Allah is also is like preserving and improving our relationship with Allah is a cause of being patient and perseverant in building up that relationship. And after doing so and continuing and building sabr and improving in our sabr, we will gain victory and we will become closer to Allah. وَأَنَّ الْفَرَجَ مَعَ الْكَرْبِ. And that relief only comes after affliction or with affliction. And وَأَنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا. And with hardship is ease. And I'm sure we've all heard it, but like some of the Mufassirin say, like in Surah Al-Sharh, إِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا comes twice, but al-usr is ma'rifah, has one alif lam, and yusr is nakira, meaning that al-usr, there's for the one difficulty is two eases that come along. So that's the aqwal of some of the mufassirin as well, just a little point right there. But the main point is that Allah is the only one we should be relying on because of everything explained in this hadith, right? So we've concluded right here by reading the hadith that is mentioned in the book. It is عن أبي الدرداء رضي الله عنه قال من قال إذا أصبح وإذا أمسى حسبي الله لا إله إلا هو عليه توكلت وهو رب العرش العظيم 7 مرات كفاه الله. That whoever recites, or Abu Darda رضي الله عنه narrates that whoever that قال من قال he said that whoever recites the above 7 times in the morning and in the evening, Allah will suffice him in everything that concerns him and everything that happens throughout the day. And then it's not mentioned in the book, but the narration I found from Abu Dawud is sorry, ما أهمه صادقا كان بها أو كاذبا. I believe that part of it is mawdu'. So but that part just adds like whatever of it is true or false. So may Allah allow us to reflect upon these adhkar and allow us to contemplate and inshallah draw closer to Him so that we can truly understand and feel it when we recite the adhkar that Hasbi Allah la ilaha illahu. Oh Allah, you're sufficient for me. There's nothing worthy of worship except for you. Alayhi tawakkaltu. Upon Him I completely put all my trust and reliance, and I put all my affairs. وَهُوَ رَبُّ الْعَرْشِ الْعَظِيمِ. And this last part, وَهُوَ رَبُّ الْعَرْشِ الْعَظِيمِ. Allah is the Lord of the magnificent throne. Just a little tidbit that came in my mind is that if we look all around the world, all the leaders around the world most of them have like no mercy for anybody, right? And we think about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Lord of all of creation, وَهُوَ رَبُّ الْعَرْشِ الْعَظِيمِ, right? He's the Lord of the magnificent throne. Yet He's so kind to us. He gives us so many chances, and He lays out everything for us to give us salvation. So may Allah allow us to act upon that. Sallallahu alaihi wa sallam ala khayri khalqihi Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in.
Question? Comments?
Ibn Jarir al-Tabari says في كلام العربي هو المسند إليه القيام بأمر من أسند إليه القيام بأمره. هو المسند إليه القيام بأمر من أسند إليه القيام بأمره. ها؟ السنة said موضوع. What's موضوع? I don't know. I assume it's in there, so I don't know. It's not student.com says موضوع. الباري said موضوع. Yeah, answer that. The whole year. Any other questions, comments? Can you mark? Did you already turn the mic? Yeah. We need to do that for the rest of the class, just like every week, just one person just teaches the class. The whole class. All you do, you just go to Islamic Matters, you pick a reader, you do some sharh. In some places that's in some classes, some teachers that's their general style of teaching. Wherein, I don't know if I mentioned this last week or 2 weeks ago, where the teacher's job is basically the teacher finds that my job is to listen to a student's explanation and just say that is right or that is wrong. Like Sheikh Zakaria Kandahlawi rahimahullah is like when my dad would teach hadith books to us, everyone else would, like all the other teachers in the school would have, long, like one hadith, like 1 hour, the next hadith 1 hour, like just every hadith is like 1 hour long. What happens then halfway through the year? وبه قال حدثنا وبه قال حدثنا وبه قال حدثنا وبه قال حدثنا. You just read the whole thing. Said my dad and Sheikh Khalil Ahmed Sa'ar, they would give very short explanation. And my dad's primary method of teaching would be the student's job is to teach. Hadith comes up, bab comes up, a mas'ala comes up, student teaches it, and the teacher's responsibility is to say yes or no. That's how actually we covered some of Sunan Abi Dawud as well. But then it gets hard because you don't know what your teacher necessarily wants from you. Like I had to teach the whole section on Mas'a al-Khuffayn from Sunan Abi Dawud, and I was like, I was ready. I could have taught. I could have gone like for 2.5 hours. Just going through like this narrative, this. But then the teacher was just like, "Why are you saying all that?" I say there's a lot of Sahaba said it. Move on. like we get the point. Anyways, okay, we need to talk about two. Let's see, what do people put for the debate? Also, all of you need to give me a topic for paper presentation by this date. I will put it in the quiz for that week, because so that way I have a week to let you know if that's a viable topic or not. Some of you have already done that, so great and thank you. Let me just see if there are any debate topics that anyone else added.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. Did we end up having class last week, or was I just on the wrong link the whole time?
So we had last week. Like last week? Last week was ladies' halaqah.
No, the week before that, sorry.
No, we had class.
So I was just on the wrong link on campus.
I guess so.
Okay.
Muslim
This presentation is for everyone to do?
I haven't thought about the exact structure yet. Muslim fiction, meet discussion, overcome the highs. That's not really a debate. What's Islam with children? All right, I'm not really driving with any of these. You're gonna choose a topic. How we can
Then we just skip it all together. That we can focus on your papers and finals. I don't know. We'll see. Let me think about it. Okay, before we continue, any topics up for discussion? Random tangents we would like to go on?
Just a assignment topic.
Yeah, but I don't like any of the ones that were suggested.
You mean for today or for the discussion?
No, like just any slight bit of open forum. Any questions, comments, cool things that happened last week? The outing was okay.
The what?
The seminary outing?
Oh yeah.
No? Yeah, okay, I guess everyone was quiet. Okay. Do I have your permission to drink some tea?
Yes. Of course.
Okay, sorry, just I literally leave like Fajr like this in the morning. Like it's like my voice is just like so dead. Yeah.
I actually have a question that I didn't really get to ask in classes. To ask you. We were talking about like different ideas about like gambling, chess, whatever the games that we used to play dice. And Chef Balik was saying the Hanifis, they'll still say like some of this stuff is haram. The gambling aspect is removed, but just because it's like that, like I guess a distraction. And I've been thinking about that a lot. Like, what can you do for leisure and entertainment? Where does like the line become? Oh, this is a distraction. This is not allowed.
Yeah, that's a good question. Firstly, Hanafi saying something is haram is usually a red flag. Hanafis usually don't say things are haram.
Yeah,
they usually say يعني makruh tahriman. Because unless something is dalil qat'i, they're not going to say it's haram, they're going to say it's from dalil dhanni, like all these ahadith are qabr wahid. So there's going to be makruh tahriman at most. That's kind of one thing. Number two, attributing things to a school should always be, kept within its limits, because saying Hanafi say something, does that mean Abu Hanifa, Abu Yusuf, Imam Muhammad said something, or Huduri and Kasani, Marghinani, did they say something, or did Ibn Abidin say something? Right, those are very different tiers. Obviously, the first three people I mentioned are, the people that founded the school. The second three people I mentioned, these are the people who are around the year 500-600, who are basically the ones who summarize the school. And then Ibn Abidin and like the people of, like Nablusi and Al-Haskafi and the like, these are people who basically are coming with a ton of fatwa because of their day and age. There's a lot of things that Ibn Abidin says that Abu Hanifa never said. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing, but just keeping that in mind and keeping that in context. Like just a very simple example. Actually, this would be a great thing. Somebody wants to do a paper on it. In the Hanafi, you ask Abu Hanifa, what is the ruling of slaughtering an animal for the birth of a child? Abu Hanifa says it's mansukh. The only udhiyah we do now is Eid al-Adha. There's no slaughtering an animal for anything except for Eid al-Adha. Now you go to all the scholars of India and Pakistan who are Hanafi to the bone. What do? They do aqiqah, right?
Okay.
And so you see a difference within the school developed there. Lastly, to get back to the actual point, sometimes scholars, they give rulings based off of what they see in their environment. So it could just be those particular Hanafis who are very, if that's the case, very harsh on certain things. That's because they see that very relevant and prevalent in their society. As for actual guidelines and boundaries, usually joy and play will be categorized with, is there any kind of benefit? That's kind of one category. Number two, the level of time consumption. The level of time consumption. Normally, if you're a pro chess player, is your game like 10 minutes? Your game could go on like hours, right? And so that's one of the things that is going to be a determiner. Okay, you play a game, but it's not like do a quick round of, Go Fish, right? Or a quick round of or whatever card game you play. This is like a whole long process, right? Like it will coincide with the prayer time unless you're playing in like the middle of summer, right? And so that's one aspect to keep in mind. And then also, is there any external benefit that is gained? So usually when it comes to lahu and la'ib of physical activities, they never have a problem. Because listen, you're developing your body, you'll be able to fight people. Hopefully you go on jihad and you take some people down, but with things that are just like trick games or just strategy games where that level of real world application may not be there or clear cut, then again, those are kind of two criteria. So doing things that are fun, that are short, fine, whatever, no issue. Or doing things that, again, will have some kind of worldly benefit. Like we just had a whole thing on Monday where we were doing just like team building games. At the end of the day, that's going to help build brotherhood and sisterhood, get us to learn about each other. It's not like either activity was like 7 hours long, right? So just kind of keeping that as a gauge. Does that help?
Yeah, I didn't realize how to differentiate and contextualize who said it. Make sure we look at it.
This is always a rule of thumb. If somebody is not from the people who they're talking about, you take it with a grain of salt. Same thing for me. I'm not a Maliki, I'm not a Shafi'i, I'm not a Hanbali. So if I tell you something, if I say the Hanbali say this, or the Maliki say, the Shafi'i say this, I am not an expert in any of those schools. So if I say something, you're just like, okay, that's like they maybe said that, right? Just always that's for anyone, especially if it's a refutation. Anytime something in your book says this group says X, Y, and Z, they probably don't say X, Y, and Z. Especially in Hanafi works, because when the Hanafis in their works, I know Dani, you have your hand up, but I think Hannah, you want to say something too. I'll get to you. In Hanafi works, their goal is not to mention what is necessarily the actual strongest muftabihi community fatwa of their interlocutor. You read Quduri, you read Ikhtiyar, you read Hidayah, and they say Shafi'i says this, Malik says this. 50, 60, 70% of the time, that's not the actual madhab. They're bringing it for two reasons. Number one, to stimulate in the student what is another possible, like quote unquote, extreme conclusion that we can make based off the text that we have. That's number one. And number two, how do you as a student develop the mindset of being a faqih? Like, how do I hear any dalil? How do I hear any opinion and understand this is how you got there? This is why you got there. Why is that not the best approach? Why is this approach better? The Hanafi textbook is not necessarily there to teach you masail. It's definitely not there to teach you masail of another school. It's there to teach you how do you break down and argue against, not argue in a negative way, but how do you think like a faqih? Does that make sense? Because sometimes, like, this is very normal. You read Shafi'i, Imam Shafi'i says, Imam Malik says this. Either they didn't actually say it, or that's probably one of the, just some random opinion in their school, right? That nobody cares about. But it's, how do you develop the mindset of being a faqih, right? But Umar Simji is not here, but, he always has his question like, okay, so like, can I pray like underwater? Or what happens if I'm praying underwater and then like I break my wudu, Like, do I automatically regain wudu? Like, what happens, right? For most people, it's just like, please, when that happens, you come talk to me. But as a faqih, I need to know how to answer those questions. For the sake of exercising my fiqh in tafaqquh. Right? Like, okay, if I am praying underwater and my wudu breaks, do I instantly have wudu again? As a Hanafi. Yeah. So can I just not consider that bina?
You still lost your wudu for like a millisecond.
Yeah. Wait, y'all didn't learn bina? Oh, you guys read wudu or what?
Yes, yes.
If you're praying, you break your wudu, and you're behind the imam, you go, zip your balance, don't say anything, don't do anything else to break your wudu. You go to the bathroom, you make wudu, you come back, you just continue whatever you had to make up, and you keep going, as if there was just like a time delay between you and the imam for like whatever time. So if you pray under water, the wudu breaks. Instant bina. There you go. Done. Yeah. They gotta think like fuqaha.
But is that only if you're being led by your Muslim?
If you're the imam, you should probably just do istina. That's gonna be the like remember that famous clip of the imam from the haram who like started salah and he was like, oh, just kidding, just wait, and then he left and came back. Like that Hanafi, we did bina. Do you have to do takbir again? No, you just continue. We're okay with that? So you gotta be like think like a faqih. You just if you're like, wow, the imam is probably in the final tashahhud, ruku, sajda, do whatever you need to do to catch up. You never left prayer. That's the mindset that you have. I didn't leave the prayer.
You do what you have to do to catch up. You don't just make it up after. So you essentially catch up to whatever.
Yeah. Because if you make it up, that means you missed it. But you didn't miss it.
So are you saying if you leave on the second rak'ah and you come back and it's a third rak'ah, you just continue with the third rak'ah? Once the salam is done, you just
No. Opposite. Okay. Let's say let's give the easiest scenario because sometimes it can be hard to decipher. Second rak'ah of Fajr, right? I break my wudu, right? So I come back, the Imam is doing Qunut Nazila. Right? There's only 2 rak'ahs. I was already in the second rak'ah. All he did was went to ruku and came back up. So now I come back into the musalla, I go into ruku, I come back up. That's it. Just catch up. You okay with that? Yes, Daniel.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. Sorry, did you say you're taking like random questions or was that like something that we had spoken about?
Usually before we start the book and after we're done with the book, I take open questions.
Okay, because it's kind of unrelated, but yeah. Okay, so I asked one of our teachers earlier this week. I didn't fully understand it, but I think it was mostly because of the way I worded the question, honestly. But my question is, so how do we understand the concept that any misfortune that befalls us is because of our own sin, like from sins that we've committed, versus the concept that when Allah loves a believer, He tests them with something to bring them closer to Him? And I could repeat it if you want. Sorry, I know it's kind of random.
No, you're good. Who's calling me? ظهر الفساد في البر والبحر Surah Rum. What is that ayah, like 50 something? 57? Inshallah, I got a Zakir Naik. Daniel, would you like to read for us? Are you able to? Are you?
Sorry, read what?
Are you able to read for us? To answer your question, I'll just give you a pre-written answer.
Yeah, sure. Like, are you able to put it on the screen?
Oh, is it not sharing?
Yeah, no. Oh, it is.
Let me reshare.
Oh, there it is. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay, so the commentary?
Yeah.
Okay. ظهر الفساد في البحر والبحر بما كسب
بري والبحر.
أو في البر والبحر بما كسبت أيدي الناس. Plight has appeared on land and sea because of what the hands of the people have earned. The author of Ruh al-Ma'ani has explained that the word fasad, translated in the text as plight, means all sorts of calamities such as famine, epidemic diseases, frequency in the incidents of fire, drowning, lack of Allah's blessings in everything, and reduction in profits and incurring of losses in lucrative businesses. It can also be deducted from this verse that the cause of falling of calamities in the world is commission of sins and other evil acts by the people, shirk. Association of partners with Allah and infidelity are the most severe of them all, and other sins follow after them.
Oh, good. Continue.
The same subject has appeared in another verse with a difference. وَمَا أَصَابُكُم مِّن مُّصِيبَةٍ فَبِمَا كَسَبَتْ أَيْدِيكُمْ وَيَعْفُو عَن كَثِيرٍ.
ويعفو عن كثير.
وَيَعْفُو عَن كَثِيرٍ. Oh, this is actually the verse that I saw. That is, whatever troubles you are inflicted with are due to your own wrongdoings. The essence of this statement is that whatever troubles and tribulations people face in this world are brought about by their own sins, despite the fact that many of these sins are pardoned and many are punished but slightly, and yet some others are left unpunished. There are only a few sins that are punished by way of calamities. If all sins were punished with the intensity they deserve, no one would have been left alive in the world. But it is our good fortune that Allah Ta'ala forgives so many of our sins, and those which are not forgiven are dealt with very mildly, as stated at the end of the verse, لِيُذِيقَهُمْ بَعْضَ الَّذِي عَمِلُوا, so that He, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, makes them taste some of what they did. That is, He lets them taste a little of their evil deeds. After that, it is pointed out that whatever trouble and tribulation is sent down to them in this world, though as a result of their misdeeds, is in fact a blessing and grace from Him. If only one could ponder. The purpose of these worldly troubles is to awaken them from their slumber so that they get rid of their evil acts. This would naturally result in their favor and bring them blessings, as stated at the end of the verse, لَعَلَّهُمْ يَرْجِعُونَ, in order that they may return to the right way.
He continues, but let's quickly pause there. Even that is very much in the favor of bad things happen to people because of the bad things they do. Yes?
Yeah.
I think everyone in this class has done Bab al-Sabr from at least Riyadh al-Salihin, yes? Every hadith in there. ما يزال المؤمن ما يزال بالمؤمن والمؤمنة يعني في نفسه وماله وجسده حتى يلقى الله تعالى وما عليه خطيئة. That a believer ما من هم ولا هم ولا حزن ولا غم ولا أذى حتى الشوكة يشاكها. Every single prick of a thorn, every pain, every bit of anxiety, all of that is to forgive, is to forgive, is to forgive, is to forgive. إن الله تعالى إذا أحب قوما ابتلاهم. When Allah loves a group of people, He will test them. من يريد الله به خيرا يصب منه. Whomever Allah wants good from, greatness from, He will test him. إن عظم البلاء ما إن عظم الجزاء إن عظم البلاء ما عظم الجزاء. Why does that sound right, but it feel like it should be the other way? Anyways, the Prophet he said that the greatest reward comes from the greatest of difficulties. فَمَنْ رَضِيَ فَلَهُ الرِّضَى وَمَنْ سَخِطَ فَلَهُ السُّخْطُ. And whoever is content with that, then Allah will be pleased with them. And whoever is despises that test, Allah will be be displeased with them. See how these ayat completely seem to go against all of those ahadith from the Prophet. So I'm saying bad things happen and it's your forgiveness. And this doesn't really answer that. So let's continue. And he's about to go 100 in that direction and then come back. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm confused for a second. I was like, that's not what she was reading compared to the hadiths you just stated. It's like you've met people that are really good people and they're still being tested. So why?
The Prophet ﷺ, he lost Qasim, he lost Abdullah because of something bad he did.
Exactly. All the prophets came to my head and I'm like, they're masumin, so they were afflicted, they were tested.
Exactly. Akmili, Danya?
Big calamities fall upon the world because of the sins of people. It is in this backdrop that some scholars have declared that if a man commits an evil deed, he harms the entire humankind, beasts, birds, and other animals, because whatever calamities fall upon earth due to his sins, all others are also affected by it. Therefore, each one of the sufferers of the calamities will lodge a claim against the sinner on doomsday. Shaqiq Zahid has said that whoever acquires something unlawfully, he does not harm only the person whom he has taken it from, but also the entire humankind. It is because this opens up the door for others to follow, and thus the whole humanity gets involved in the practice. Secondly, this evil practice invites the calamities, which in turn bring about troubles for everyone.
And,
Answer. Oh, sorry.
and this in turn also gives us context to those ayat. All of the ayat, إذا السماء انشقت وأذنت لربها وحقت وإذا الأرض مدت وألقت ما فيها وتخلت وأذنت لربها وحقت. The sky and the earth on the day of judgment, they literally like, Allah, please, I've been wanting to explode because people commit sins on me day and night. On the day of judgment, Allah will say, I let you. Right? Or تكاد السماوات يتفطرن من فوقهن, right? That the sky literally wants to like implode because it hears that people say, اتخذ الله ولدا. Allah has taken a child. So you see the background of this, that the world, like the very earth that I am standing on, the walls that are around me, when they see me sin, what does the earth underneath me want to do? You can imagine if when I disobey Allah, the earth underneath me, you can imagine, Allah, let me just swallow this person. Allah, just let me swallow up this person. There will be no more. And at the same time, فَمَا بَكَتْ عَلَيْهِمُ السَّمَاءُ وَالْأَرْضِ. If I worship Allah, if I obey Allah, if I, show love and care to my family or my child or an orphan or a widow, and the walls see me do that, if the earth sees me do that, if the sky sees me do that, what does it want to do for me? Allah, this person right here, Allah, let me swallow him so you can send him to Jannah right now. Right? And so never disconnect the ruhaniyah, the spirituality, the life that non-human beings have. And legitimately, I think I talked about this a lot in seminary, like legitimately make dua. Like when you're done with year A, B, C, whatever, Allah, please, this chair, this table, this wall that I sat on, that I wrote on for, 4 to 5 hours a day, for 4 to 5 days a week, for, 40 weeks out of the year, Allah, I want this chair to intercede for me. Like, have that mindset. Okay, but now to answer the doubt, now to say, well, those ahadith say one thing, these ayat say another thing. Continue, Akmini.
Answer to a doubt. It is recorded in authentic ahadith that the Holy Prophet ﷺ has said, "This world is a prison for the believers and heaven for the infidels." He then elaborated that the infidels get the reward for their good deeds in this world only in the form of wealth and health, whereas the reward of the believers is saved up to be awarded in the hereafter. Furthermore, the believers in this world are like a branch of tree which drifts from side to side in the breeze and stands still when the breeze stops. And ultimately, they leave the world in this very condition. It is also stated that the worldly tribulations afflict the prophets most, and then to those who are near to them, and then to those who are near to the near ones. أشد الناس أو الأنبياء ثم الأمثل فالأمثل أشد الناس بلاءً.
Other way.
Oh, okay. أشد الناس بلاءً الأنبياء ثم الأمثل فالأمثل. The most severe trials are faced by the prophets, then by those closer to them, then by those closer to them. Apparently, all these authentic ahadith seem to be in conflict with the statement given in this verse. Further, it is also a common experience that generally the Muslim believers live a difficult life, whereas the infidels and libertines live a comfortable and easy life. If the troubles and difficulties were afflicted because of sins, as mentioned in the verse, the situation would have been exactly opposite. Answer to this quandary is that the verse under reference has mentioned the sins as a cause for inviting troubles, but not the only cause. علة تامة
إلا التام.
علة تامة, in the sense that whenever one is afflicted with troubles, it is only due to his sins. As a rule, if the cause of some happening comes to surface, its resultant effect normally follows. However, in certain cases, the normal effect is overtaken by some other cause, suppressing or altogether eliminating the normal effect. For instance, if someone says that, sorry, can you move the screen to the, move the text a little to the right because it's cut off a tiny bit. Okay. Oh, yeah. Thank you. For someone says that purgatives are used for moving the bowels, the statement is true as far as the effect of, is it purgatives?
I think we would say laxatives, but yeah.
Okay. All right. Is concerned, but sometimes they don't move the bowels under the effect of some other drug or an unknown reason. Similarly, it is also a common experience that at times antipyretics do not bring down the fever and the sleeping pills do not put one to sleep. Therefore, the upshot of the verse is that it is one of the traits of sins to invite troubles and tribulations, but sometimes due to other conflicting reasons, the troubles don't come about. On the other hand, the opposite of this can also happen at times, that is, troubles and tribulations may come about without commitment of sins because their appearance without sins has not been ruled out in the verse altogether. Therefore, in the case of prophets and pious persons, calamities may visit them without sins. In such situations, the cause of vexation is not sins, but for the sake of upgrading their status, tests and trials are conducted by putting them okay. Into trouble. Moreover, the Holy Quran has assigned the reason for the troubles and tribulations as sins of people for such situations where these calamities engulf the whole world or the entire city, and all humans and animals are afflicted with that. Normally, such calamities fall when sins are committed openly and freely. In the case of individual troubles and tribulations, this rule does not apply because sometimes calamities befall for trials and tests, and when the individual passes the test successfully, his position is raised in the hereafter. In fact, such calamities prove to be blessings and graces of Allah Ta'ala. Hence, it is not correct to call a person sinner if he is afflicted with calamity. In the same way, it is not apt to consider someone pious and righteous if he is affluent. However, the main reason for the affliction of major troubles and calamities such as famine, storms, epidemics, inflation, and lack of Allah's blessing is commission of sins openly in defiance of Allah's rule.
Is this related? No, that's a whole other thing. Okay. Does that help, Tanya?
Yeah, so it's basic, from what I understood, it's just saying that that's not necessarily like the rule of thumb that, yeah. Okay, yeah, no, that makes sense. I was actually screenshotting as I was reading, so thank you so much. Jazakallah khair.
I can put the link in our class talk as well.
Okay, Jazakallah khair.
Y'all don't know how much of a godsend it is that Tartil has put Ma'arif al-Quran in their tafsir section. It's just like, it is beautiful. May Allah reward them. And sometimes when you read like, wait, purgatives, this is written like 70 years ago in Urdu and then translated into English by people living in Pakistan like 50 years ago. So like, that's like we see like the inmates of the house because these people are from South Africa. Like no language and culture. Yeah.
The part that's like I'm trying to get a little bit clarification on, probably right there, that one sub heading point. it says big calamities fall upon the world because of the sins of people.
Mhm.
Right? The last sentence, therefore, each one of the sufferers of calamities will lodge a claim against the surrounding day. So, like, this kind of sounds like collective punishment in a way, right? Where someone might do something and someone who's seemingly unrelated to that person, not connected, is affected by it. I don't know, I have a hard time understanding that as being fair. And then also, is that actually a thing where someone might completely unrelated, they actually have a case against that person on the day of judgment where they be like, hey, you did such and such and I got affected. I'm not trying to understand that last sentence. That makes sense.
We obviously have وَلَا تَزِرُ وَازِرَةٌ وِزْرَ أُخْرَى, that no one will be carry the sinful burden of somebody else. But also in Riyadh al-Salihin, we had an entire chapter on man sanna sunnatan hasana and man sanna sunnatan sayyi'ah, right? So if somebody initiates a bad practice, or man dalla ala khair and man dalla ala su, whoever advises and directs towards good, versus somebody that directs and points towards bad. So just like if I initiate a good practice, I will hopefully get the reward of anyone that copies. If I initiate a bad practice, even if people don't copy me, but if it negatively impacts people, I could theoretically be liable for that. So, and this is why, again, also in Riyadh al-Salihin, like when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, "Mathalul qa'imi fi hududillah wal waqi'i fiha," or waqi fihi, that the example of the one that upholds and obeys the rules of Allah and obeys Allah, and the example of one that disobeys Allah, كَقَوْمٍ إِسْتَهَمُوا فِي سَفِينَةٍ, like a people that drew lots to get into a boat. And you have people who are on the top deck of the boat and people who are on the bottom of the boat. The people at the bottom of the boat, when they want to get water, they have to climb up the stairs, go ask the people on the top deck and say, hey, can we have water? So he said, yes, here you go, here's some water. The people on the bottom deck, the Prophet says, some people are like, wow, we keep bothering people upstairs. We don't want to bother them. Let's just drill a hole to the side of a boat. We'll get water, we don't need to bother them. Easy peasy. What's going to happen when they drill a hole in the bottom of the boat? Everyone's going to drown. I do not realize that I do not see the future impact of not only my good, but I do not often see the future impact of my sin. They think I'm just drilling a small hole so that I can get water, forgetting we're all going to drown, right? And so, when it comes to somebody's like, hey, you know what, like, just to give more crazy examples to make the point clear, maybe somebody has like, if I just start smoking and I tell all of you, hey, what smoking is bad, don't smoke. So one of you is going to be like, man, my teacher, he's smoking. I can try it once too, it's okay, Or maybe you don't, but now if you see your child smoking, you're like, hey, I'll be a little bit more relaxed. I saw one of my teachers doing it. So you see how my one sin, even I told you not to do it, could in one way, shape, or form either give you a little wiggle room or your child a little bit of wiggle room or somebody else a little bit of wiggle room to do it. And so look at the repercussions. Does that make sense? Right?
Sheikh, I had a question.
Yeah.
That's on a personal scale, but what if you see such actions on a scale of like a whole country? Like, this is totally off topic, but like just recently in Saudi Arabia, in the past few days, they have some kind of concert and it's gone above and beyond what you would see here in the West. And just as an individual, like who just made niyyah to go to Hajj and Umrah, inshallah, like I have a hard time accepting that. Like my heart is saying, don't go. However, like I go back to thinking about the time of the Prophet ﷺ when he did Hijrah to Medina, and there were still people like of Quraysh, the kuffar who were living there at the time. And the Prophet ﷺ still wanted to do Umrah and do Hajj. So do I look at it that way? Because, it made me just so very upset. And this is not the first year this happened, and I just see them like growing apart from what they used to practice, and just allowing such fujur to happen. It, you know, being at Saudi Arabia, I don't know how to feel about it. I mean, I know how I feel about it. I just don't want to lead into a way where my feelings of negativity towards that can lead somebody else to feel that way, although we see it all over the media.
Yeah, I mean, a government is going to be held accountable for what they do, and all of their citizens can make a complaint against them in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For our personal decision of going for Umrah and Hajj, may Allah accept your intention, may Allah allow you to go, which is the answer of my ritual ibadah is to do ibadah. Ibadah should never be blocked by outside circumstances. Like if a masjid was built on riba, and this is the only masjid in a 50-mile radius, and it's Jumu'ah, what am I going to do? Boycott, protest the masjid?
I don't know.
No, they're sorry, that came like that issue with them is separate than the ibadah that is done inside. As you yourself said,
Separate. What you're saying is separate.
it is separate. But there is the masjid community board activities versus ibadah. I can say, hey, listen, I don't want to go to your afternoon weekend programs, but I'm not going to not come to the jama'ah. I'm not going to not come to Jumu'ah, because that is the haqq of this place itself. It has nothing to do with you. You're just here managing the affairs, but this very land belongs to Allah, not you. These walls belong to Allah, not you. And so, and from your example, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, 3 of his umrahs after hijrah, what was between him and the Kaaba? What?
Wasn't you mean like between him as in distance?
Yeah. What was between him sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the wall of the Kaaba? What was in between him? Idols.
Got it.
Idols. And you can imagine, may Allah protect us. I mean, I think the entire ummah would probably just flip out. But you can imagine if at some point in the future there happens to be the picture of the Grand King on each side of the Kaaba. Allah help and save us, But should somebody be like, I'm not going to do Hajj because of that?
No, but what if going with that feeling? I mean, like if you go, right, inshallah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant my wish and make it happen. But like going with that feeling, do you get like less of the ajr because now you're going like 50-50? Because it's hard. Like for me, it would be very hard. Because I'm thinking like the money is going to go to the government. Look what the government is doing. They're able to do that, but they're not able to help their brothers and sisters in Islam that are being killed all over, that are Muslims. So it's just a feeling that one has inside. Yes, you can separate the action, but how do you separate the feeling?
Do your absolute best to distance yourself from that government. You go to Palestine. Are you staying at a bougie Israeli hotel? Are you staying in either a family's house or a small local hotel?
Yeah, no, not at all.
Or are you getting food from McDonald's, or are you getting food from the mat'am?
Not even from a gas station that's ran by an Israeli, like not even a water.
But you're still buying stuff there from who?
From the Palestinians.
From a local, right? So if that is my feeling, if that is the way I feel, make it ibadah. Allah, I am visiting your house. Allah, is it harder for me to not stay in a 5-star hotel and rather to stay at a 3-star hotel a little bit further that will give less money to this government? And will I have to walk more? Yeah. Will it be harder for me to not go to a fast food chain or a restaurant, but rather go to literally like some poor guy who's got literally selling like falafel out of his cart? When you give money to a local in Quds, do you feel you're getting reward from Allah?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So if I'm like, let me not get chai from, the multi-million-dollar hotel. Let me get it from a guy who's literally pouring it in his, cup under like in the alleyway between the, multi-million-dollar hotels. I hope to get reward.
No.
And with that should be the mindset to have. And really, if you think about it, and again, they shouldn't make us, hate Islamic history, but the Haram of Mecca and Medina were really only fully safe and preserved under an absolutely good government from Ramadan of the 8th year of the Hijrah up until when Muawiyah radiallahu anhu passed away, like year 31, like 31, 35 after Hijrah. So like
23 years, basically.
a little bit, because that's 30. So like 35, 35 to 40 years. Bus, that's it. Every other caliphate, as much good for Islam that they did, they also did a whole lot of bad. And you go and read, all of the zuhad and the people of tasawwuf who would be like, I will not drink zamzam out of the cup that was donated or set up by the Khalifa for the people to drink zamzam from. I will use my own cup to take the zamzam out. I do not want to use the Khalifa's bucket to roll his volume money into the well of zamzam and drink from that. You can't stop me from drinking zamzam. I don't care who gets it, who packages it, but that cannot be taken away from its spiritual haqq. The Kaaba cannot be stripped of its sanctity. That land is not owned by a human being. They may put their influences there, but that land is the property of Allah. When we say waqf lillah, Allah owns that property. So I can boycott everything outside, and I hope to get reward. But I cannot boycott that very land itself. Does that make sense?
Jazakallah.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, Najia?
So I was gonna say a few things, but so also for Hannah, I was gonna say, like, I mean, I think that shows that your heart is in the right place, because like if you like they say, like if there's something evil, that you at least hate it in your heart. So that's like basically what you're feeling. So to me that's like a good thing. But I was gonna say for the other thing about like the tribulations and like kind of seeing whether it's like a punishment or like elevating your status. I feel like in general, like in Islam, and I don't know if this is like the right way of thinking about it, but like there's a lot of concepts that I feel like are kind of like on opposite ends. And it's like like the hope and the fear, or like believing in free will versus the qadr of Allah. And I feel like in life in general, like depending where you are, you may need one perspective versus another. And that's kind of how I've conceptualized it. And I don't know if that's the right way, but I feel like that's been helpful to me in certain situations, and like trying to kind of navigate that. So
It's a solid point. To give one ayah I wanted to quote as an example, فَلَمَّا عَارِضًا مُمْطِرَةً عَارِضًا, like this goes exactly to your point, right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the people of Ad. Allah talks about the people of Ad, and when their punishment is coming, let's just quickly go. وَاذْكُرْ أَخَا عَادٍ إِذْ أَنذَرَ قَوْمَهُ بِالْأَحْقَافِ, and remember the brother of the people of Ad when he warned his people at the mountain hilltops. وَقَدْ خَلَتِ النُّذُرُ مِنْ بَيْنِ يَدَيْهِ وَمِنْ خَلْفِهِ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا اللَّهِ. And warners had already come, before and after, with the message, do not worship anyone other than Allah. And he said, إِنِّي أَخَافُ عَلَيْكُمْ عَذَابَ يَوْمٍ عَظِيمٍ. I am afraid that you are going to have to face a very a day of extreme punishment. عذاب يوم عظيم, or يوم عذاب عظيم, in terms of meaning. قالوا أجئتنا لتأفكنا عن آلهتنا. Are you really here to divert us and take us away from the gods that we worship? فأتنا بما تعيدنا. Bring us what you keep threatening and promising us with. إن كنت من الصادقين, if you're truthful. قال إنما العلم عند الله. Only Allah has knowledge of that. وأبلغكم ما أرسلت به. I'm simply conveying to you what I have been sent with. ولكني أراكم قوما تجهلون. And but I think you're people who are very ignorant. The people of Ad now. فَلَمَّا رَأَوْا عَارِضًا مُسْتَقْبِلَ أَوْدِيَتِهِمْ. When the people of Ad, who, how long, they have lived decades now in the rejection, challenging, fighting, threatening of their prophet. So, very evil stuff. عَارِضًا مُسْتَقْبِلَ أَوْدِيَتِهِمْ. Now they see a bunch of rain clouds coming towards their valley. قالوا هذا عارض ممطرنا. Oh my God, we're getting fresh rain. It's like, take a minute to think. You're on the verge of killing the messenger of God and you think you're about to be blessed? بل هو ما استعجلتم به ريح فيها عذاب أليم. No, this rain is not here to comfort you and to be grace and ease for you. This rain is here to obliterate you. The point of that, tying it back to Najia's point, is as a believer, I shouldn't, honestly, exactly what you said, I should never feel safe that, oh no, I got some bad thing happened to me. I'm just a perfect person, I didn't do anything wrong, I'm going to be great, just Allah's forgiveness. And I shouldn't damn myself to be like, I'm just the most wretched, ruined person ever. It's take some time to reflect. Did I do something wrong? Is Allah trying to teach me something? Or is Allah just helping me out in this situation, trying to get me closer to Him? And at the end of the day, I don't even necessarily always need to attach it to a previous event. It boils down to, what am I doing now? عَجَبًا لِأَمْرِ الْمُؤْمِنِ إِنَّ أَمْرَهُ كُلَّهُ خَيْرٌ وَلَيْسَ ذَلِكَ لِأَحَدٍ إِلَّا لِلْمُؤْمِنِ. How amazing is the life of a believer. Everything for a believer is good. That only applies to a believer. إِنْ أَصَابَتْهُ سَرًّا فَشَكَرَ. If I get good and then I'm grateful, that is good for me. وَإِنْ أَصَابَتْهُ ضَرًّا صَبَرَ فَكَانَ خَيْرًا لَهُ. And if I go through difficulty and I'm patient, that will be good for me. How am I reacting to the harm? How am I reacting to the harm? That will then determine if it was good for me or bad for me. Somebody could be sinless. Somebody could be sinless, go through a calamity and say, God would treat me like that? By definition, we just learned, if somebody's sinless, then how can they get a punishment afflicted against them based on those ayat? They can't. But that punishment, because it said, oh no, God is out to get me. What kind of a God would do this to me? I never disobeyed Him. What they thought would have, that became punishment for them because of their response. If somebody said, man, Allah is just trying to humble me, that would be the way that it becomes their forgiveness and raising in status. Summary? Think, tadabbur, tafakkur, reflect on your own life. What does Allah want from me right now? How do I best obey Allah right now? You okay?
I think generally speaking, like lately for me personally speaking, I feel like my iman is being tested a lot, because seeing what comes out of like Saudi or UAE, and I only bring these countries up because I know like they can make a difference, and a big difference in helping and aiding the ummah, even in Egypt. And astaghfirullah, like I'm not going to deny, sometimes I just think to myself like, Ya Allah, like they just keep showing us, like they how do I put this, like I don't look at it as a sign of blessing, of course not, because they're being tested, like doing what they're doing. I feel like they're being tested, like they're at the verge of falling as a Muslim ummah. But then again, I see all the suffering all around that I'm like, how is this even possible? Like, how do you allow this to happen? And I have to bring myself down and I have to ground myself again and then just say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala like, has his way. But I feel like not just me, like if I talk to friends and family members, we all have these question marks, like why? Why is this even happening?
Yeah, it's very good. Two things. Generally speaking, I agree with you, but at the same time, this is not in defense of any one nation or country or anything like that. It's not in defense of anyone. But you could imagine a leader of a wealthy Muslim country could be like, it's very easy for me to do something. But if my 10 million citizens die because of my power flex, Allah will also hold me accountable. I'm not justifying anything anyone has done or hasn't done. I'm just saying that is a thought to keep in the back of my mind. You could have one powerful person, and this is something again, I'm not justifying any country on earth. But for example, there's sometimes, I want to say things on the minbar at IOK. But there are children that come here for school. If I say something that gets IOK in trouble or that people dislike about me / IOK, and people show up here to do something dumb, are they just going to fight me? Or are they going to do something to the children that come to the school as well? And that's a legitimate fear to keep in mind. I'm not justifying anyone, but something to keep in mind. Also, Allah, He says, وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ حَتَّى نَعْلَمَ الْمُجَاهِدِينَ مِنْكُمْ وَالصَّابِرِينَ وَنَبْلُوَ أَخْبَارَكُمْ. We are for sure going to test you until we know those of you that are struggling as hard as you can and those that are patient. Wallahi, would the world have known, would the ummah have known, would the people of Gaza themselves have known their level of iman if they didn't go through this? Would they have known, my God, I didn't know I have this much tawakkul in Allah embedded deep inside of my heart, if they didn't have to go through that? If the Prophet ﷺ was never kicked out of Mecca, if he was never threatened to be assassinated, if he was never made a mockery of, called a liar, a soothsayer, his companions weren't killed in front of his own eyes, what value, what high road would he take when he says, "La tathriba alaykum al-yawm yaghfirullahu lakum"? There's no blame upon you, people of Quraysh. I'm coming as your conqueror. You're all free to go. Antum tulaqa. What status would that hold if on day one people of Quraysh said, "You know what, Muhammad, we don't really want to believe, but you do your thing. We're not going to touch you. We're not going to mess with you. We're not going to stop you." For Allah to give people the stamp, the gold star of you lived and died as a Muslim, you need to prove it. You need to prove it. Or else, there's no test of sincerity. Because if everybody became Muslim and got $1 million, who wouldn't be a Muslim? But if it's, I'm still going to be a Muslim, even if they're trying to rip my limbs off. That person saying and dying saying, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, something very different than somebody just like, yeah, we'll give you some money and you could be a Muslim. Allah wants to highlight, put people on a pedestal to show them off to the world. These are my ibad. And this is exactly how we can most best understand. وَإِذْ قَالَ رَبُّكَ لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ, when your Lord and Master said to the angels, إِنِّي جَاعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً, I am placing a person to rule and judge by my command, and people that will live in consecutive generations on earth. The angels rightfully said, أتجعل فيها من يفسد فيها ويسفك الدماء. Are you really going to make people and put people on earth who are going to spread corruption and who are going to spill blood? Do people do that? وَنَحْنُ نُسَبِّحُ بِحَمْدِكَ وَنُقَدِّسُ لَكَ. Allah, why do you need them? We're already doing your tasbih and your hamd day and night. We already do your dhikr and worship you and declare your perfection and glorify you and declare your absolute pristine sovereignty day and night. قال إني أعلم ما لا تعلمون. Listen, I know things that you don't know. وعلم آدم الأسماء كلها. This is not the normal tafsir, but this is probably the more appropriate tafsir. Allah taught Adam the names of all people. ثم عرضهم على الملائكة. And then Allah showed the entire all of humanity to the angels. From Adam alayhi salam to the last person to ever live on this earth. Amongst them are Dawood, amongst them are Sulaiman, amongst them are Nuh, amongst them are Ibrahim, amongst them is Abu Bakr and Umar, and no doubt the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Allah now tells the angels, you see all these human beings? أنبئوني بأسماء هؤلاء. Tell me what are their names, who are these people? إن كنتم صادقين, if you can tell me the truth. قالوا سبحانك, Allah, you're so perfect. لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا. We only know what you have taught us. إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. Allah, you are the one with all knowledge and all wisdom. Allah turns to Adam. Ya Adam, أنبئهم بأسمائهم. Tell the angels the names of all of these people. Yeah, are there a lot of people that spread corruption and spill blood? Angels, are you better than a lot of humans? Yes. But there are some people you don't know about them. Angels, you don't know about the patience of Nuh. You don't know about the unwavering resolve of Ibrahim. You don't know about the perseverance of Lut. You don't know about the strength of Hajar and Sarah. You don't know about the sincerity of the young little Ismail. You don't know about the struggles Yaqub had to go through. You don't know about the terror Yusuf had to go through and then still grow up to be a just leader with integrity. Angels, you don't know what Dawood had to go through. You don't know what Musa had to go through. You don't know how Isa had to deal with so much, how his mother Maryam had to deal with so much, yet they came out despite the difficulty with a level of piety and obedience to me that you angels could never display. You angels don't even know that there is one of the children of Adam whose name is Muhammad, who is the greatest, most beautiful, most special, most devout, most honest, upright, kind, caring, devout human being, creation to have ever existed. If you ask me why are there killers and murderers and people that commit fraud and cheat and lie, and you think it's not justifiable for me to make a human race, Allah is saying, these people Adam is naming to you, they justify. For 1 million murderers, one Muhammad ibn Abdullah justifies their existence. And then when the angels hear this, or after Adam alayhi tells them all of these names of these beings that angels could have never imagined, there are people that their rank is far beyond what we could have imagined of. نُسَبِّحُ بِحَمْدِكَ وَنُقَدِّسُ لَكَ. Allah tells them, didn't I already tell you that I know things that you don't know? For 1 trillion murderers and rapists and people that lie and cheat and steal, 1 Dawood, 1 Musa, 1 Yahya, 1 Maryam, 1 Hajar, 1 Sarah, 1 Muhammad justifies all of them. The imperative is on us to be like that. That I live my life. I want to be a type of human that what would it be if Adam alayhi salam like pointed at me in that conversation, as if telling the angels, you see that one Umar or Rabi'a or Abdul Rahman or Muhammad or Dania or Umar or whoever, there's too many of you to name. They justify all these people. فهمنا؟ Anything else?
You said that's not the tafsir.
It's not what we normally hear. We normally hear he taught them fire and wood and rocks and mountains. As Ibn Abbas is insan and dabba and all of this stuff. And this is the names of the angels. علمه أسماء ذريته كلها. And the names of all of his children. Either he taught the names of like items, like animal, cow, goat, sheep, rock, mountain, or the names of the angels, or the names of people. But if you read these ayat, because كلها عرض هم أسماء هؤلاء أنبئهم بأسمائهم. Once or twice you can get away with using hum or hunna for inanimate objects. 4 times you use hum for inanimate objects.
So are you saying, Sheikh, that because hum was used 4 times, it's most likely that they taught them the name of the dhurriya, not inanimate objects or the animals?
Or else you would think.
Yeah,
الأسماء كلها ثم عرضها على الملائكة فقال أنبئوني بأسماء هذه إن كنتم صادقين يا آدم أنبئهم. Sorry, this hum is for the angels. Sorry, so 3 times. أنبئهم بأسمائها. If it was the names of things. Question here: does committing sins, making mistakes, disqualify someone from being of the sabiqun, or if they repent, make sincere effort, they can still be of them even after mistakes? Allah says, وَالسَّابِقُونَ الْأَوَّلُونَ مِنَ الْمُهَاجِرِينَ وَالْأَنصَارِ. That the Muhajirun and the Ansar, were they sinless? They committed sins. They made mistakes. What differentiates them and why they remain as Sabiqun al-Awwalun is because after their mistake, they did tawbah. Oh, so no, it is 4. There is this one more. Yeah. What's up? Sorry.
What did he do that he like ask the angels to
Just imagine it like this.
if we take the names,
Imagine like somebody from what?
we take like the Zuriyat.
Yeah, so imagine this, like somebody comes into this classroom like, and they tell me, why are you teaching all these, loser students? They're not going to amount to anything. I could ask them to read Huduri, they're all going to make a bunch of mistakes. Oh, I should continue. Sorry. But then I say, hold up. Your point is true about some of them. But then I bring up student A, and I bring up student B, and I bring up student C. And I say, if I have 100 students, and if 90 of them can't read Quduri properly, but I have 10 who they know tafsir, who they know hadith, who they know the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and who I hope live and die by in their private and public life, that would justify me having a class of these 100 people. 90 of them are going to sleep in class. Does that scenario help put into perspective? Like someone who's like, why are you doing this? Hey, this is why I do this.
So the angels started asking Adam to justify it.
A little, like Allah is the one handling this conversation. The angels say, why Allah, why did you make these people? They're going to do this, and this. And to kind of, to prove a point to the angels, Allah says, Adam, why don't you go tell them who these people are? Because the angels, they don't know. Like if somebody walks in and says, why are you teaching all these students, they're not going to, okay, Arabic curriculum is this, and you're going to be like this, and right? But they don't know who in here, they don't know you. They don't know the good students from amongst you. They don't know the bad students amongst you. They just heard rumors. But I said, no, this student is like this. 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 Did you know him? No, you didn't. Did you know that this student has done this? No, you didn't. Be quiet. Sit down. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Is Tazkir recorded? Yeah, Tazkir is recorded. I guess probably because people like to play it otherwise. No, I mean, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, Kullu bani Adam khata, wa khayrul khata'in at-tawwabun. All of the children of Adam are people that make mistakes. But the best of those people that make mistakes are those people that do tawbah. نقف هنا. Anything else? Let's just take out this whole debate thing. Who's not going to be here next week? You're not going to be here. Anyone else? I feel like half the people are going to go for Umrah or something. Anyone else not going to be here next week? Najee, is that a question, or are you not going to be here next week?
Yeah, I'm not going to be here next week.
Do y'all want to have class next week?
I do.
Okay, we'll have class next week. Everyone, I don't think we're gonna have the debate. I'm not feeling it anymore. Unless somebody really wants to do it and you really give me a really good topic. I don't like any of the topic. That's not to put any of you down. I'm just not feeling it. I don't know. But please, by next class, can all of you send me a topic for your paper/presentation, so that I can let you know by December 6th if you want to. If I'm okay with that. Is that okay?
I'm sorry, Sheikh, is that like a different presentation per student or one topic for all students?
No, forget the debate. Debate done, gone. No longer happening. Sorry if you really wanted it. By January 17th, I would like all of you to write a paper and have a presentation ready for it. Be on whatever topic of your choice. This is for you individually to be like, I really want to talk about this. I really want to learn about this. I really want to why do the Hanafis say this? Why do I heard this in Sirah, what's the deal with that? Or, whatever you want to talk, be it spiritual, be it, imaniyat. Like, you just want to be like, hey, Mufti Shafi' wrote a very nice section from Ma'arif al-Quran. Let me like expand on that and bring in multiple more ahadith and ayat to really make that into a full-fledged, a piece. By all means, go ahead and do that.
By January 17th, have it submitted, but then we'll do it eventually.
Yeah, no, by January 17th, you should submit your paper to me, and we will have the presentations on that on the 17th and probably the 24th. But by next Friday, give me your topic.
Oh, okay.
So that
Yeah, okay, no
so
problem.
that I can say, yes, good topic, or please find something else.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else? Anything. I mean, I will still have to say yes or no, but it could be anything. Anything. Right now, we got somebody doing Tilka al-Gharaniq al-Ula. We got somebody doing the satanic verses. Is that it? Is that the only one someone has told me about? Somebody's going to do the Ijtihad of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Year 3 is just like, wow. I feel like, we already heard all of these conversations.
I just thought of one right now, like Khairul Amali Ma Qalla wa Dam.
Sure.
Nothing hard.
Okay. Anything else?
Because of the topic, that what if we decide to change it later on?
Just let me know. Somebody's going to be like, I want to write about why. I don't even know. I don't think I've ever told anybody you can't write on this topic, but just for like a sanity check. Okay.
We can propose more than one.
Propose more than one, and then I'll either say yes to all of them, or I'll just let you know like which ones are okay or not. Okay.
Presentation is on the same thing.
On the same thing. All you gotta do is you gotta click this link, and you open this link, and you read this link. Oh wow, everything is. I put more effort into this than some of you put into your paper now. That's a little tricky. I'm sorry. Yes. No? I'm gonna get up and then somebody's gonna be like, oh, I wish I should have asked my question.
Maybe like modern topics that we struggle with recently.
Whatever you want. Whatever you want. طيب. Okay. سبحان الله بحمده سبحان الله العظيم سبحانك وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين اللهم اجعلنا منهم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته